There are persistent rumors that the Kenyatta family, the first family, the family of President Uhuru Kenyatta, are on the verge of buying the Daily Nation newspaper. Now, I've tried to work my contacts to confirm this, but it has been very difficult to get anything conclusive. But of course, we know that the Aga Khan is due into the country sometime in March, okay? And these reports indicate that during his visit, the deal will be finalized. Now, one thing seems to be clear, one thing has no doubt, and that is the giant Nation Media Group is looking for a way to offload its daily newspaper. The daily newspaper is not doing as well as it was once doing, okay? It has got very high costs, and it's facing stiff competition from the rapidly changing world of technology, that has hit the media industry very hard. Indeed, if truth be told, profitable newspapers anywhere in the world are becoming a very rare commodity. However, there's a story behind the Nation newspaper that is worth telling, because for all intents and purposes, one of the most popular newspapers in Kenya ever, indeed the most popular newspaper ever in Kenya, should not be in trouble. Even with the internet, with technology changing and so on and so forth, actually, if things had gone differently, the Nation would still be a going concern. The Nation would still be a very attractive property for any media group to keep. Now, I wrote an article around 1993-1994, and in that article I said recent decisions within the Nation Media Group, concerning the Daily Nation, were the wrong decision, and that they were going to have far-reaching repercussions on the newspaper in the years to come. What decision was I talking about in my article? I was talking about the decision to turn the focus of the newspaper away from circulation, into advertising, making it a more advertiser-friendly newspaper and focusing on advertising revenue to drive the growth of the newspaper. This critical decision was not made without reason or without cause. The 90s were very stormy times for any newspaper. There was a lot of pressure from the then Moi regime. Multi-party democracy was knocking on the door. And it was a very difficult time to be in the newspaper business. So naturally, on paper, it was a good idea to tone down on the very sensitive stories which brought a high circulation, and tone down on the editorial, and then focus more on advertising. Indeed, this kind of model, profit model for a newspaper, works very well in places like the United States, where you typically pick up a newspaper and 90% of it is advertising. And the newspaper has very many pages. So really it's a big task to find the stories. You have to go through a lot of advertisements to find any story worth reading. But obviously taking such a model and planting it in Africa, especially in Kenya, I think it would have been rather obvious to anybody that it was not going to work. But the Aga Khan, the major shareholder all these years of the Nation newspaper, has very serious finance guys. So I'm sure they worked out a model and projected revenues that made sense to them. However, the long-term consequences of that decision were tragic. And indeed, the newspaper continues to suffer it to this day. This shift of focus into advertising was also marked with the purchase of state-of-the-art new printing press for the Daily Nation. And this printing press was able to do color printing. So for the first time in Kenya, we had a daily newspaper full of color all over the place. Things looked like they're going to be okay. In fact, this looked like maendeleo, progress. But of course, nothing would have been further from the truth. Now, this period also marked the end of a golden era in journalism. I mean, a most extraordinary era in Kenyan journalism. And a man many consider to be the best editor Kenya has ever produced, a man called George Mbugus, exited the Nation. This was around 1991. Now, in the next episode, we'll take a closer look at this extraordinary character called George Mbugus. Okay? You'd better not miss it. He was quite a guy. Yeah, see you there in a bit. This is Chris Kumekucha.